And we're back to the only podcast that I have no idea how I was going with this intro. I'm drinking coffee out of a mason jar.
He's living his best life.
I guess. To some. I live in somebody's dream. Might not be mine, might not be yours. But it's somebody's.
Well, how's it going, Spects? Spects returned to streaming in a glorious whatever way. I don't know.
I used a VTuber. I just used a PNG.
Yeah. Spects was like, I ain't showing my face around these parts.
Nope.
I thought it was a weird decision.
It was a lazy decision is what it was.
I almost suggested that you should have put our pictures up instead of our videos. Our the two what's it called? You have of us.
Yeah.
What you should just do is we should just get rid of these boxes.
Oh, just put the thing.
Put it like so that it looks like we're sitting at the table talking to each other.
Oh, I guess so. But
or we go full on VTuber and it really looks like we're talking to each other. No, you just still need a green screen so we can look like we're in the same place.
Yeah. I guess that's the issue. I just need the green screen. I guess I could just hang a sheet above me and just drape it down if I really wanted to.
Yeah, well,
I think I tried that at one point. It didn't really work.
I feel like I have a memory of one of our... I'm going to look this up right now, but I feel like I have a memory of one of our Sports Squared videos.
We did. There was one where we put a
put up a sheet behind us.
No, we did. We legitimately.
It was I think it was like the Lakers Celtics.
Yes,
preview.
Yeah, it was legitimate like green sheet that we just put up behind us for.
And we were thinking. I don't know what we were thinking when we did that. Were we thinking of keying something out? If so, what were we going to use to do that?
I think I honestly
technology wasn't really cheap to do that back then.
I think what it was is we didn't want the white wall.
NBA Finals preview. There it is.
I think it was legitimately we didn't want a white wall because that wall.
But then we could have just done it in your kitchen.
I think it's honestly because of the wall, because we wanted the wall, but we didn't want just have it like the blank wall. You know, but like, well, I mean, because it was just a pure blank white wall. Like there was nothing behind it.
You know, looking back on that time. If we'd honestly had better recording equipment, like for like audio in particular, it
was also like 20.
It was for a video.
Also 2010. It wasn't exactly like even YouTubers were using like HyperX cams.
That's good times. You know, it's funny. There's a video I posted in 2010. It was August, at the end of August of 2010, when I was visiting New York, and I thought, oh, this would be so cool. So I took a stupid video with my cell phone, and I was like, there's a Lakers update coming soon. Do you know what I never did?
What?
Any sort of Lakers update.
Yeah.
And do you know how I started? Hey, sports fans.
What's up, sports fans? We're back with another video, sports fans. Why does he keep saying sports fans?
Yeah, you know, because you know what I think I was thinking when I posted from on top of it's from on top of the Empire State Building. And I think I was thinking, oh man, this would be such a cool video to just be like, to just post this video of from on top of the Empire State Building and just be like, hey guys, we're gonna do something, but I'm just here in New York chilling. But it just turned out to be stupid.
That's how I feel about most of the stuff I do.
That you did something and it turned out to be stupid?
I think it's my entire channel.
Oh man. No, I mean your Twitch content's always been good. That's something I pointed this out to you afterwards on Discord, but I really honestly think that you should take note of how much people enjoyed seeing you yesterday.
Don't know why I actually used the PNG yesterday.
Why?
Because I didn't like the way I had everything set up, especially for that game. When I had to make a whole new. I'll show you after. I literally had to like, if I ever do again, I had to make a whole new like scene for that game with how much I have to do.
So Specs, who insists that was just a one-time thing and he's never streaming again, still took the time out of his day.
It was more so
the scene again.
It was more so if I wanted to do like any YouTube stuff on it, like I needed to reset it anyway, because like the biggest problem with like, and I think it's really all games really, is like anything with like a HUD. It's kind of hard like not to be in the way of the HUD. Like you can't really just hide in a corner sometimes with the face cam.
Yeah.
So like I had to like copied what somebody else did with it, so I had to like I just stretched the game screen out. Stretched the game screen out. I should just add PokeLink to it. I stretched the screen out, so now it's just like my face cam doesn't have a border. It's just in a corner, touching, chat's underneath it, and then if I need to like do some maneuvering, like I can maneuver it.
Yeah.
It's a giant mess, but I got it to work.
I need to create one of those anime things so that if we're ever doing the podcast and I need to like step out of the room, I can at least like put that up as like a, hey, I'm stepping out, Specs, go ahead and keep talking sort of thing. I can put that up for a second.
It's just your BRB. It's just the anime.
Yeah, well, it'd be better than me doing this.
That's funny.
I'm taking a short break.
Yeah, but that's funnier.
That would be kind of funny if I just put this stuff and
just
was
an
like
intermission screen. You can't. I mean, just the random intermission.
At that point, I'd rather just leave my chair up. But I didn't get it. I forgot to use that one yesterday. I was gonna put up Specs chair as the command. I used like every command I ever created for you.
You did. You used all of them.
Was like I said, I saw it and then I enjoyed watching the stream the entire time. Mr. Nobody likes me, so I'm not gonna stream anymore.
Anyone likes me.
I mean, that was kind of what you indicated.
I said my content sucked, in my opinion. There's a difference.
And yet you're still posting to YouTube.
I'm posting one-shot videos where I'm reviewing cards, and I'm not even reviewing them. I'm just like, hey, this program kind of sucks ass again. It's the shocking rinse, wash, and repeat. While other creators are like, oh my god, all the cards are good. They're just in packs. You got to pay 50,000 stubs for.
Yeah, well.
Don't tell. I mean, my thumbnail's enjoyable. I mean, look at that thing I put. There's Peepo judging you as he looks at this shitty content. I think it's my favorite thing to do. Just putting random emotes where it's just like, why?
Well, I should be back.
Pogging.
As of whatever day this goes up, I should have been back this past weekend for a day.
Pogging. He's wogging.
Specs was like, I'm where's your content the other day that Specs had messaged me and asked me, where's your content? And I was like, I'm streaming on Friday. He's like, I remember when you used to stream twice a week. And I'm like, I remember when you used to stream it all.
Joke's on you.
See, my opinion was, and it still is that if you just treated like streaming as like a bros night type thing, like playing video game with your bros, because I mean, like it's mostly just some of the guys there and soccer. If you treated it more like that and stopped thinking, I need to produce this amazing content, and made it more something like, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends, then I think you'd be more.
Yeah, but that's not the point. The point isn't like it's a hangout.
Yeah, but you gotta make money from hanging out with your friends. How often are you gonna do that?
Never, because it never works.
But you make, 2-3 subs a month of money. It's more than I make, and I'm still streaming.
was never about the money.
But then if is it hanging out with like
no okay, in terms of like the monetary stuff, my viewpoint of monetary was if I bought it, because I don't buy games that often. If I bought a game, I would get the money back for that game, and that holds true. If I bought a game and streamed it, I always got the money back for the game for the most part. If it was a $60, $50 title, I'd always make the money back. Like, I think I'm net. I'm still like, in terms of just games, I'm net positive in terms of that. I just don't buy a lot of games because I fucking forget to play them. Like Harry Potter, I still haven't beaten Harry Potter and all that. I just forget about him. Like I'm backlogged to all hell.
And play through that backlog of games on Twitch. You don't have to. I'm not really trying to. I don't think there's anything. I have little hope of you actually returning.
There's not a lot of like stuff that's even really worth it in that backlog anyway. I don't think. I haven't looked through it in a while.
Well, I mean, Harry Potter like died, or Hogwarts Legacy died.
Did they really? Well, they haven't done anything with it. They haven't really.
Say it died, but it's definitely.
I don't think there's a lot to do with it.
Let me see. Where's my? Show me the categories that follow.
I don't think there's just a lot to do with it. Yeah, it's only got 287 viewers at this point, and the highest viewer has 26.
Oof. Oof. I also honestly didn't play much into that game when I was so excited for it. It was a good game. I just got caught up in other things with Twitch and.
I think games like that are just kind of difficult, like linear.
That's why I'm saying, like, if you just treated it like hanging out with the bros.
The biggest problem with it is linear games that are just linear storytelling don't do well because everyone's doing it, and unless you can like, that was sort of the point, like when you're like shoving a controller at my rectum, and you're like, like it's not just like that's like a but there's sort of a point to it where if there's like. A to B gameplay anymore just doesn't exist. It's dead for the most part. Like there has to be some sort of like twist to the content.
I did enjoy my clips I got from you last night, by the way.
Oh, I'm rock hard right now.
Those are great.
It's so
good times.
It's so difficult to do it because you have to like, especially that game. I was calcing everything.
I still like the name for shove a controller up my butt.
You know how hard,
just shove a controller up my and then the peach emoji.
Dude, that game is so rough because you have to, like I said, you have to freaking calc everything.
I thought about clipping that one a little shorter. And making it just seem like you said you shove a controller up your rectum, but
I mean my point's correct though.
I still my favorite one though, well not my favorite one. Well, one of my favorite ones is when I tricked you into, well not tricked you, but got you to say oh
yeah.
What did I hold on, I have to go to it. It was
yeah, he said it. He said it like, oh.
Mickey is still there.
I
like Bryce. No, Mickey is still there, and you're like, that doesn't make sense.
Dummy.
So it's funny. I'm getting confused because you're. I pulled up your channel. And then I'm hearing you, and I'm like, what is Specks saying? And then it's like, oh, wait, no. He's not saying anything. It's
what is he saying?
There it is. I like Bryce. Yeah, Mickey is still there.
No, Mickey is still there.
What is the one for Daddy Dimu?
It's just me.
No, he says... Who's still there? It's
Damon is still Damon is still there. I like Specks.
I like Spects. No, Damon is still there.
Yeah, I like Spects. It's just to stroke my ego.
What was the context of that, by the way? You remember?
They put a card to not like a great card, but it was free. You had to do mini seasons, and he wasn't sure because the season ended, so he wasn't sure if they got rid of it and replaced it or if he was still there, and he was still there. That's how I got it.
Anyways, so
that's how I
got it. I'll probably be doing Final Fantasy 7, mostly because I'm like looking right now at the VOD, and it actually got 20 views.
That's like 3 weeks ago.
Which for non Mario Maker content for me is actually pretty good. So it's not amazing, but it's like
amazing.
I think maybe it was a small market for people to who'd want to come and see that. Probably in the next week or two, I'll get my Switch set up and start streaming Mario Maker 2 again. And that's how I'll get all my followers and finally pass Specs up.
I mean, probably.
The only goal left on Twitch. Now that Specs isn't streaming.
Let go. The only goal left.
Now that Specs isn't streaming, if it's the only goal left and that's as far as I go. Like I get to like 231 and I'm like, all right, we're done.
We did it.
I'm like midstream getting a bunch of followers, like really building my momentum, and I'm like, nope, chat, we're done.
We did it.
Sorry, whoever's level this is, I'm signing off.
We're done. We're done, chat.
So, anyways,
mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of what we're gonna do. I don't know if there's any real video game content to talk about. We haven't talked about video game content in a while, though. I started playing Fallout 4 just on my own. I'm not gonna stream.
And you're like, man, that game goes to 0 to 100 real quick.
It's just like it starts off with like they come by and they're like, "Hey, you want to sign up for this vault?" And you're like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." And then all of a sudden, like alarms go off, and they're like, "Ever got to a vault? Nukes have been launched in New York and this place," and it's like, oh crap, okay, all right, that's expected, I guess, in that sense, because it's Fallout. Like, what else is gonna happen? And then you run to the vault, and they're like, "Hey, decontaminate in here," and then they put you in. Which I knew it was going to do. They put you into a stasis, and then all of a sudden you wake up a little bit from the stasis, and they're like, "Give us your child," and your wife is like, "No, I will not." And they're like, "We'll shoot you." "No, I won't give you my child." And then they shoot her, and you're just like, huh. That's just went from nothing to, oh my gosh, they're shooting everybody and taking my kid. It's like the inverse of what the Fallout 3 script was.
Yeah.
Where it was like you go with you're in the Vault 101 with your dad.
Yeah.
And then you have to go search for your dad. Now you're the dad and you have to go search for your kid.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm sure plenty of people have played Fallout 4, but I was actually getting kind of into it, and then I stopped playing because I had to watch my kids. So we'll see if I get any chances this weekend to hop back into that world.
Maybe not. Who knows? The world's your oyster.
Have you been playing any games off stream? I mean, everything you play now is off stream, basically. So
no, not really.
No.
Outside of just
I should have asked you. I was like, "Oh, we should get back into Valheim soon," and you were like, "Meh, I'm bored." I'm bored of everything.
No, because I got it on Game Pass and I didn't renew my Game Pass, and I'm like, I don't want to renew my Game Pass till
Do I need to gift it to you?
I was gonna say,
Steam?
I was almost gonna say, I'm like, was that? But I'm like, wait a minute, I'm never. Then we'd have, like, I'd have to make a new character for that world, and we have to do all the stuff again. But I don't think.
Would we, or would you be able to take the data from the current game files and?
You know what? I don't know.
You might be able to do that. At least take your player game file and stuff.
I probably could move it. I think we'd have to try it. It's not like the whole thing is. It's like realistically, it's probably not as big of a deal as I think it is. Because you have a high.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You can
if worse and worse, we start over from scratch, and I just build us a new base.
No, even say not even start over from scratch with the armor like I had. You probably have like all the stuff in one of your other games and just drop it off, and it'd be like 5 minutes. And
that's
good.
True.
That was my thought. I was like, I guess it's not as big of a deal as I think it is.
True. Let's see. How much is it on Steam? That'll
20. 20. I happened to look.
Is it really?
Yeah, I happened to look. Oh, I wanted to. Okay, I saw something for Terraria, and you didn't tell me, and I was there. I forgot what it.
Did you ask? I don't remember you asking me any Terraria questions.
I also didn't know that this existed. I don't even remember what brought this up. There was something specific and I'm like, holy shit, that's really cool. How come Bryce never told me what it was? What armor was it?
I don't know.
There was one specific armor and I'm like, oh my God.
Why would I have told you anything about Terraria?
I don't know. Like I said, there was some specific armor that I saw in a video. I don't remember what I was looking up, but it was some armor set, and I don't remember what it was. It wasn't shade. I don't remember what armor it was. Was it tungsten armor? It might have been tungsten. I don't know. It was like some armor, and I'm like, that armor's sick. How come? Like I would have like what? Like I'm looking at all the armors to see if I can remember which one it was. There's a lot of like armors in this game that I'm looking at it. Oh, what the hell?
What are you saying that you want to play Terraria instead?
No, I'm looking at the armor and the Huntress armor looks like you look like Link. Oh, he sent me a gift.
Yeah, they have all sorts of vanity in that game.
What the hell? Oh. I want it.
It's good stuff.
Wait, how does I guess I should have just asked like how does the armor work in this, because it's like I'm looking at it because I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but I was like, that Link, the Huntress armor looks cool.
Spects suddenly wants to play
hollowed armor. I'm just like, I forgot what armor it was. It was specific armor, but I know it's probably like you don't get it till late, like way later on in the game. It might have been the Spectra armor that I thought. I'm like, that is sick armor. They have some cool armors. What else is Terraria on the 3DS?
Yep. It's the only one that's not going to receive any updates because
the 3DS is gone. Like they have some sick armors, but I'm like, you're never gonna get these. They have some cool stuff, but it's like I'm sad now.
You're the one who gave up on that game.
Isn't so much I gave up on it. I mean, he even said like
we could have kept having survival Saturdays.
I guess like some of the armors were cool. I don't remember, like I said, I don't remember specifically which one I saw, but there's one I was like, oh my God, that armor's sick. I want it. How do I get it? But it, like a lot of it just like we didn't have the stuff to do it yet.
I was watching
B armor.
So Mind Over Mandy, she was online as seeing why she wasn't streaming she's been doing a Valheim permadeath
run. She died, if I remember right. If I saw somewhere
she died. Like it it was just like she ran into so she's in the Mistlands, and she ran into like a 2-star creature there. That's like already powerful without being like 1 or 2-star. And she ran into one and she tried to run away, and it was just like 2 hits, done. Which sucks. That's the thing. I think I could get about as far as she could in a permadeath run if I'm like careful as I go along. I'd have to change my playing style a bit with that game, but I probably can do it.
That's the one
But
thing.
then I'd get to where she got, and I'd probably have a hard time avoiding death.
There's a slime queen.
Yep.
That's how you get one of the armor. Queen. That's how you get one of the armors. Forbidden armor. I don't know. There's a lot of like cool. I'm just looking at armors. I'm like, some of these armors are cool, but I'd probably never get them.
Well, I mean, if you just played with me, then you'd get all the armors that you wanted and more.
That's all I want. I want to look cool.
No, but anyways,
shark armor.
But so
I remember exactly what the armor was, but it was like, I want armor. I wanted that armor.
All right, now that I've watched that, I eventually want to do a Valheim permadeath run.
Those are just hard because there's so much like just anything.
So much that you've played it now, so you know that there's just so much little things that could kill you at different points in the game.
I mean, I just know how hard like one lives are.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole thing. Cactus armor. We had cactus armor in our playthrough.
Cactus armor's pretty easy to
Necro
get
armor.
early on.
Meteor armor. How do you get meteor armor? I'm just looking
This is just sitting here going through all the Valheim wiki for
No, I'm looking at like how do you get them? And it was like, here are the best armors. And I was like, oh. But I also realized like we weren't gonna be able to like get them for a while. I think it was the Stardust armor that looked the coolest. And I'm like, I'm never getting that.
Yeah, that's endgame armor.
No, I know. I'm like, yeah, we're not getting that for a while.
Here's the thing I think with you and Terraria is we got to the point where it's still kind of slow. It was going to speed up not too long after we got there, but you were just kind of like, I don't want to play. I was like, okay. I wasn't going to force you. So, anyways.
Also not a builder. I saw.
You are now a proud owner of Valheim.
Even though I technically was before.
No, you were before. You were a proud owner.
I guess I was renting
Xbox Game Pass.
I guess I was renting it.
And the only reason I was willing to send it to you is because when we did play that, you did enjoy it.
Yeah.
Unlike Terraria.
Well, the whole thing is you said the only reason you gave me Terraria was you were like, I have like 6 copies and I can't use them. So.
I had like extra copies. Yeah, I still think I have.
You're like,
one.
Just take it. I should fire up Terraria. I might fire up Terraria on my own and just see if I can like not suck.
It's a hard game to solo. It wasn't one I wanted to solo until I got into it a bit. Even then, I've only ever soloed through pre-hard mode. I've never actually gotten into hard mode with it. Like I did. I started hard mode, but hard mode is where it really does start to get difficult. Not trying to talk you out of it. I'm just saying.
No, I was just no. But I was gonna get Game Pass again just for not for Valheim, for Starfield, because that's gonna take over my life once it's here.
Oh yeah, Starfield. That's gonna be a thing soon, isn't it?
Yep. I don't think
should I stream that? Is that what I should do? You should come back to streaming just to do Starfield.
I don't think I'll stream Starfield. I don't think. The whole thing is I just don't want it to suck. Or I want it to work.
So it'll probably suck at first and then get better.
Yeah, no, that's partially why I'm like, maybe I should wait till like middle of the month.
I'd probably wait like a month
That's what I'm kind of thinking.
Gonna get patched like super quickly.
That's what that's what I'm thinking. Is I'm like,
I'm very interested in it because like the idea of being able to use this not just open world but open universe type game. It's like, ooh, that sounds fun.
That's what I want, but I don't think.
What I really want is for somebody to do that, but with like a Star Wars type game.
They had that. It was called Knights of the Old Republic.
No, I know, but like use the technology that's today and make it for like take the Starfield stuff and make it you know.
And that's kind of what this is. It's basically just Star Wars.
I know, but like give it like that same universe thing where you're like a Jedi, like make it like the show Rebels. I don't know if you ever saw Star Wars Rebels, but
I've seen parts of it. I think it's a little overhyped, but I feel like that's how most Star Wars, like
if you watch it all the way through, you'll understand why it's so good.
I think my biggest gripe with Star Wars stuff now is and I make this point every time I say it to someone, they go, you have to be so negative about everything. And my entire gripe with it, it's the same reason I kind of like why I don't like, not don't like, but why I'm like, why I think like the Fantastic Beast films, like I feel the same way about them to a certain degree. But it's almost like when you look at Star Wars, especially like Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's a prime example of like my gripe with him is what did Obi-Wan, and this is the only question I ask anyone who liked it. It's not bad, but I ask you this one question. Did Obi-Wan do anything to make Star Wars better? Honestly.
Yes.
What did it add?
What did it add?
Well,
it added depth to all the characters that were in it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have my gripes with the Obi-Wan, but like,
no,
like my main gripe with it is Disney has this problem with killing people with lightsabers, where they don't kill anybody whenever somebody gets stabbed with a lightsaber.
Well, yeah, because it's like it makes money.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, so Reva gets stabbed right through the gut by Darth Vader, and somehow is alive. Like, and it wasn't even like a cliff or that's what I'm looking for. Cliffhanger? It wasn't even no a plot twist, because there was something where as soon as that happened, I was like, okay, she's gonna live. I'm more than positive, because like the way she died was kind of lame.
So my gripe with it is when you want to make, my thing with pre-sequels for the most part is if you want to do a pre-sequel or gap fillers, it has to either enrich a storyline, give more backstory to a character that needed it, or just add it needs to add something, or it's just going to feel like fan fiction. And Obi-Wan to me felt like fan fiction. It didn't really enrich Obi-Wan. Did people want to kind of know what happened during that 7 years of like when he was by himself? Yeah, but I was always like, I don't think the story really needs to be told, because I'm like, there's not a lot there, to be honest with you. Even the movies itself was sort of like not.
I still think you have the same love for Star Wars as the rest of us.
I don't have the same love for a lot of things that people have, but like, but my whole point is like, if you're doing that, I shouldn't. To me, I could have read something similar on fan fiction, like in terms of fan fiction. Like,
no, the writing for those was way better than fan fiction. Dave Filoni is
no, but my point is like plot line,
and I am stoked for Ahsoka to come.
But like plot line, like Ahsoka's another one. Like all these things where I'm like, does it enrich anything? No.
Yes.
In what way? Like I get like Ahsoka was his fan favorite because of Clone Wars and all that stuff, but when the biggest, this is like the biggest thing, and this is like what Star Wars is biggest problem is going to be going forward, and it's kind of Marvel's issue right now, is Star Wars originally had like just a straight line. It was 6 things. It went from 8 or 9 things. Those 9 things told the story. That, like, if you saw that, you were golden. You got the gist of it.
And that's still true.
Yeah, but now you're entering this weird thing where it's like there's offshoots of offshoots of offshoots of offshoots now of stuff going on. Because now, like,
because those of us who love Star Wars want to see it. And Ahsoka is one of the best created characters in the Star Wars universe.
No, I'm not saying Ahsoka's not bad, but my
Ahsoka's like the 3rd best character in the Star Wars universe.
But my point being is there's a difference. I guess I can put it this way.
4th, maybe
there's a difference between enriching a plot line and enriching a story and trying to milk it monetarily and not care about the entire project.
It's being milked, but they put the right people behind the project. Dave Filoni, like I said, if you watched Rebels all the way through, you would know why I adore that show.
That's all fine and dandy.
The death at the end of Rebels, is the hardest death to watch in all of Star Wars canon.
That is all fine and dandy, but my retort to that is I had to suffer through Rogue One, which was shit. Han Solo, also shit. And all that stuff that were subplot storylines that did nothing but line the pockets of Disney.
But and those weren't written by Dave Filoni.
It doesn't matter who writes.
And they're not making movies, and you don't have to watch anything.
Yeah, they're not making movies because Kathleen Kennedy.
The Dave Filoni stuff is perfect.
You know why they're not making movies anymore? Is because Kathleen Kennedy got tired of people saying it was awful. It wasn't like a lack of them trying. She
had a problem.
Yeah, because Kathleen Kennedy sucks. Kathleen Kennedy,
she did a terrible job overseeing her directors and keeping
she did horrible.
What they need to do is take Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and say, you two be in charge of the Star Wars universe because they get it.
Well, the whole thing is
they know what the universe is about.
But the whole thing too is also they were fans of like the original things. They knew
exactly.
They know
but that's
what
I'm saying. They get it, and that's the thing is Dave Filoni and Jon get it because they are.
You switched inputs for whatever reason. You got like very like you got very your sound got very
sorry
I was like woo.
No, sorry. So Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are both incredibly talented writers and directors. Just both are top of the line at what they do. And then they understand and then they understand the Star Wars universe because they were big fans of it. And so they're able to write this good content. And that's why I'm saying I almost feel like, you can ignore anything that's not written by Filoni or Favreau. Like I have still yet to watch Andor because I didn't hear much good about it. And it honestly didn't really.
I mean, that's how I feel a lot about just like how that's just how I feel about it anyway, because it's just like if it doesn't.
But you're more than allowed to feel that way. I'm just saying these are perfect. What they did was perfect content and the best way to expand the universe.
I guess, but like I think my whole thing is when it came to like Obi-Wan specifically, when it was like he had to rescue Leia, I'm like, well, why? My whole time was like, why? And it was like, what was the reason? He's like, well, don't tell anyone that you had this. And I'm like, that's your rationale for like years later was like, oh, I'm just going to pretend it didn't happen, which I'm like, all right, fine,
for
whatever.
Safety reasons.
No, I get, but the whole, my point is like in my stupid brighter brain.
That honestly makes it make more sense as to why Leia was calling Obi-Wan in the first place.
I guess in that regard, it solves that question instead of it being like the original thing was like her dad said he was like this great war hero. I guess makes that a little bit better. It was like she had firsthand experience, but it still just sort of seems like really odd in some fashions. But then again, I'm looking at it from like the writing perspective of like how everything like where this is and what it does to it. Versus like, oh, it's Obi-Wan. It's right up, it's like right up. It's a tangent. It's not like a direct line. It's just like it's DLC, basically.
The hater.
I don't think I'm a hater. I just don't like I don't like fan servicey things that essentially like
I think
blind
it's
people.
better to do fan servicey type things than to do The Last Jedi.
You know, I have a theory on why on it, and people get very upset at me when I say this. Rian Johnson ruined Star Wars, and that's fine. But I don't understand why people are like, yeah, but nice, that was great. So that, you know, that makes up for it. I'm like, no, he literally he ruined an entire plot line. It was like no one bothered to be like, hey, maybe not kill Snoke here.
My problem with like this is turning into a like film and what's it called discussion, film and show discussion, Star Wars. So just a Star Wars discussion. We might as well be joining Ryan Key on the Meet the Maker podcast. But he has a podcast where
I gathered he has an entire Star Wars sleeve.
Like, and I get that.
You want a Star Wars sleeve?
If I was to get a tattoo, I'd probably get something that was
get Harry.
That was
get the
Star Wars related, or Harry Potter would be.
Get the
lightning
lightning bolt right on your forehead. So Rian Johnson sucks.
Yeah, no. My problem tended to be more about Kathleen Kennedy, even in that situation.
But she was so bad. She should have
gotten
awful.
all her directors. She should have gotten all her directors and head writers in the room at the beginning of that trilogy and said, "Look, we're going to create a roadmap, and everybody is obligated to follow that roadmap." Because then Rian Johnson, if he wanted to say, "No, look, we need to," no, it's Ryan, Rian. It's Rian Johnson. I promise.
That was Rian Johnson.
Rian. Ryan. I promise. Yeah. Rian Johnson.
Oh, it is.
Rian Johnson.
I have been lied to for years.
No. But because then they could have like had it out a little bit and said, well, I want this, and then they could have, chosen what they liked best and made like an actual good trilogy out of it. Where when J.J. Abrams makes episode 7, he says, "Okay, well, I'll tease this stuff that's going to come up in episode 8 that we've already put on the roadmap," and then in episode 8, Rian Johnson can tease this stuff that's going to come up in episode 9. It would have been if it had somebody who was putting their hand over the entire thing and saying, "This is what this is going to be like." Like, I honestly. A lot of people have issues with episode 9, and I do too. I honestly think as a story, like a lot of the choices they made don't make sense.
You know what episode 9 brought into American audiences that they didn't understand? It brought up my favorite anime trope of all time: power scaling. and no one got it. They power scaled Rey so much between 8 and 9, and it wasn't even cool. It was hilarious at how they had to like shoehorn stuff in for her, like the blowing up the prison thing with Chewie on it was like my favorite bit because who I saw it with, I literally leaned over and looked at him and went, "That's what we call power scaling, children."
Yeah, well,
we're screwed.
It's funny. I was watching that video, and I won't go into it because I'm not much of a person to really be able to discuss this kind of topic. But I was watching a video on yesterday. Somebody did a video essay on the problem with modern heroines in. Oh, I saw. Film.
Was it the video? The video I was discussing a couple weeks ago.
It might have been.
It wasn't modern heroism. It was literally this. I think the video I watched was literally titled like "The Strong Female Character," and how like throughout, if it's the same one, it was like how it progressively it became less about an actual character and more so like it flipped to like one like kind of like the Oonga Boonga character. If it's the one I saw.
No, I think it must have been different. Audiences. Okay, it was by a person by the YouTube channel name of Master Samwise.
Master Samwise?
And the title of it is called Audiences Hate Bad Writing, Not Strong Women.
That's what it was. That's the one that's right. That's what I saw.
So it is. And like I said, I'm not gonna like go into it because like I'm, as a man, I'm not like to discuss like what the world wants to see from women in film. But I feel like too often and then like this is what the person put is like, and that was the problem with Rey is like they want to make this strong female character, but they don't develop her into a strong female character. They just make her this. They just basically said, "Here, we'll give Rey a bunch of cheat codes and call it a day, and make her this naturally invincible person."
Well, I mean, the biggest issue with like that is, and you kind of like, I think like Captain Marvel, sort of like the prime example of this is when she was first introduced. Because her in how it was filmed, her appearance in Endgame came before her movie. So like that's why her writing was really weird, and she was like this Deus Ex Machina character because like, well, we don't really know anything dick all about her. So they had to work backwards, and then that's why like in her movie it was sort of like, wait, what?
No, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like you can make these characters powerful, but give us reasons why they're already powerful. And then to compensate for that lack of a journey to become powerful, give us struggles that they still have to go through. Make them relatable, because to present us with any character, man or woman or whatever, it doesn't work if you're just saying they're strong because they are. And they never go through any problems in their life, and they're just going to win the day. Yeah,
like Gary, Susan, Mary Stu characters are so boring. But you got to remember, like the masses of people who consume media, like via one dimension of how they interpret media through basically film and television is the vast majority. That the people who play video games, like watch, like read comics or manga, watch anime and all this stuff, for like that was the funny part, is people who like play video games and all this other like media wise can kind of like sniff it out, like bad writing and like these flat 2D characters faster than anybody, because they've dealt with it for however long. Like that was the big, like, what was it? Forspourn was like the prime example of it, of like the main character in that game was so terribly written. She was like the worst character written in forever. And every article about it was gamers don't like strong female characters, just everywhere. And people who played it were like, no, she's a bitch from start to finish. And everyone's like, it's fine that she's this way. That's totally cool. But don't have her entire mindset change to be like, I'm going to be the savior, when she showed nothing of that for the first, like the game was like only like 8 hours, like the first 7 hours.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, I think that's the problem, is a lot of, I mean, like, for example, I'll give you a character that I really liked at the beginning of their show, and that was Supergirl. At the beginning of Supergirl, I thought she was well written. I thought she was a dynamic character. I thought there was a lot going. She had to go through struggles, and the focus was on being a good superhero and whatever. And then in later seasons, the writing just got bad. It became all about politics, and it just wasn't really all that watchable anymore. And it stopped being like all that watchable. It became more about political messaging rather than good writing. And and I don't mind even political messaging. I don't mind if you do it like in this, if you don't sacrifice your story for political messaging.
Is that kind of like,
you can give me an episode on gun control and I'll enjoy it, but just freaking make the episode good. There's literally an episode of Arrow. Arrow is another show that started good, writing got bad in later seasons, and it was just not a good show in later seasons.
Is that like all those shows?
The part of the reason was literally what happens in Arrow is Oliver Queen runs he runs for mayor. He's elected as mayor of Star City.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the things that comes up is gun control.
In a city.
And they literally debate gun control for most of the episode. It's not like, oh, somebody got shot. Wow, guns are so whatever, and like whatever message you wanted to present that way. It was literally just a political debate of, oh, it's the guns are. It's like,
I mean, and
then the other problem I have is in these shows, a lot of these characters are using weapons or different things. But then, like, they get to the gun control episode and they're like, oh, I promise never to use guns again. Like, Supergirl does this whole thing in, like, season 3, I think, or maybe season 4, where John Jones, who's the Martian Manhunter, he's the head of the, I forget what it's called, but he's the head of, like, they're supposed to hunt down aliens.
Yeah.
And originally they're using like all this like advanced weaponry and whatever. But then they do this whole gun control episode and he's like, I vow that our will never use guns. And it just doesn't make sense because what are you doing? Like, it's not gonna work. You can't fight like these ultimate powered people as humans with we're just going to be tactically advantageous and use a lot of shielding. It's like, that just doesn't make sense in this context. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but there has to be a better way to write that. Like, there just has to be a better way.
Because they had to speed run these episodes. It's wild. Like, I think somebody said the same thing about Flash, because I know, like, I've seen glimpses of the Flash throughout. And I think
Flash stayed more consistently.
It got weird,
decent in its writing, but it got
wonky,
bad. It got a little wonky. Bit.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of like timeline stuff that just get weird. I'm like, this.
Well, and the problem with Flash was they had a couple of real world politics things going on with
there you go.
The actor plays the guy who's basically like Mr. Fantastic. I forget what his name is, but he can like stretch his body out sort of
I
thing.
have no idea who that is. I've only seen like a handful of episodes of Flash.
Ralph Dibny.
Sure.
That's his name.
Ralph
Dibny.
It
is. So he was and the problem was he was like this big up and coming character, like the focus of the show is starting to shift a bit towards him. And then some like old Instagram posts surfaced that he had said whatever, and he was kicked off the show. And after that, the writing just wasn't good. It didn't help that after that the pandemic was in its full swing, and so they had to like end the season like right away. And then they at the beginning of the next season, they like wrapped up the past season, then started something else. But then they didn't really have a good main villain for that. They had like multiple villains that were being fought. It was a mess. Like, stick with the same trope every season, and you're gonna be fine. Of just one big villain and then a bunch of small villains throughout the season, and you'll be fine.
Wasn't there a lot of like, I think I know people like the basic line I remember with Flash was everyone saying like, it had like these weird time skips a lot of times, and you had no idea what in God's creation, what the hell was going on half the time.
Yeah, well, so
because like I think the big bad for one of these was like a Barry Allen from like Another Earth who became evil.
Savitar, yep.
And I'm like,
it was Savitar. No, it was literally supposed to be Barry Allen in the future.
Oh, that's what it was.
There's a couple times that they did weird things with that, and like
I remember I saw that.
Like, the future says that this is gonna happen, and now Barry has to prevent it, and it's like, how do you prevent the future from happening? Like if your character was always supposed to know that the future is gonna happen, doesn't trying to prevent the future make the future happen?
No, I remember seeing that, and like I remember like that was a big reveal. And I'm like, my exact words to because where I used to work, they had like TVs everywhere, like white noise. And I remember this part, and they were like building up to this, and I'm like, and it was Barry, and I'm like, and I literally went, what shitty writing to build this moment up to be like, and it's you, Barry. And I'm like, I get why people just like this show just like slammed into the ground harder than he could think.
It was great. I mean, even through that season, it was still a good show, but that's where it definitely started to be like weird. And then the problem was the more they got involved, and I feel like this is the same problem most. I mean,
it just jumped like the shark.
Fantasy fiction, science fiction type things. The problem is that they start to go into time travel.
Yeah, and it just blows out of proportion.
If the show is not intended to be a time travel show, then it's gonna be it's hard to do time travel correctly.
Yeah, that's one thing I really enjoyed about Smallville. Like, Smallville had bad seasons, but it was mainly because like the main villain was bad, or just like could be as thought out as some, and especially like once they decided we're gonna kill off Lex Luthor, like all that stuff sort of went away. But at least like Smallville wasn't like decided to like time travel and stuff. They sort of just self-contained themselves.
Yeah,
that was the last superhero show I watched was Smallville. I haven't watched anything since. I thought it was all stupid.
You're stupid.
I'm also not a DC guy. That's what it comes down to.
I like DC's superheroes. It's just in terms of like on a large scale, they've never been able to do it correctly. Anyways, I guess we can move on to sports.
The Angels suck. There you go. There's sports.
I think, yeah, like, look, we did this last week, so I don't think there's a reason that we need to discuss too much now that we're doing sports. But, because, I mean, we discussed the two things that are on my mind, but we can kind of go into one of them a little bit more, mostly because slightly more information has come out in the past week. So, in the past... So let's Angels suck. That sucked. Losing basically, what was it? They got swept basically by Seattle and Toronto.
They lost 2 of 3 in Toronto.
2 of 3 in Toronto.
And then 2 of 3.
And then the first one to San Francisco.
2 of 3. They lost 2 of 3. 2 of 3 to both Seattle and Atlanta. Got swept by Seattle, and then lost the first game against the Giants. And you want to know something funny? If they lose tonight, they'll have the same exact record through 10 games that they had last month. 2-8. Fun fact.
That is a fun fact. Now, I honestly, what would be really funny to me, this isn't going to happen, but if this was somehow the season that they made it back to the playoffs, this isn't going to happen, but what would be really funny is if, because they've got series coming up right now, Astros, Rangers, and who's the third team that they're going up against?
Philly, or Cincinnati. Sorry, Cincinnati. So they've got 3, like, decent teams, although Cincinnati's been kind of cold, I think. They've gotten cold.
But they've got 3 decent teams that they're facing, and what would be really funny is if they just went through and went on like a 9-game win streak, and all of a sudden we're back in the playoff conversation. Somehow got in the playoffs right when everybody was like, "Nah, there's no." Like, even I've sent out a tweet. Obviously I don't think this is gonna happen, but I sent out a tweet that was like, "Well, it was an interesting year, Angels." Anyways,
I'm starting to think, and there's something funny, and it's I think certain things are only funny to me because I laugh at how certain people this is gonna sound, I know they're aware of me to a certain degree, but I find it hilarious, and I will never not find it hilarious when people try sneak their way into things that don't need it, and because they're there, they're like, they feel obligated to like not agree or not share their opinion because the bigger celebrity is saying something, and like they want to do it. And I think you know what I'm talking about when I say that indiscreetly without saying names.
Sorry, say it again.
I think it's fun. So there's a certain site that has a podcast.
Oh yeah.
And I laugh, and it's funny is if you look at their posts, I laugh because one, I think self-promotion that they do is nothing short of funny. But I also think they're balancing this weird thing of like, we want to be really positive, but we also want to state like, the real thing. And the funny thing is when somebody says like, no, they're 500, they've always been 500. I think they upsold it on what they really are, because like when you're in that range, you can kind of like, you can kind of sneak up there, but ultimately they were a 500 team. I think he's right. I think Rojas is right. They are a 500 team, and that little like upskirt. Wow. Upshot there. Like that chance of like breaking that barrier is so good. Wow.
If only I could just clip this. I think I can on YouTube. So once this comes out, I'll just look for that.
But having like that shot, I think, sort of sells it.
Upskirt shot.
Yeah. But because they posted something, and I'm going to read this word for word because of again.
Have I said, just to make sure I'm aware of who this is, that opinion's pretty locked in, right?
No, it's not them.
No, not them. Okay, why did I think you've had issues with them too, haven't you?
No, I agree with them more so than anything. To be completely honest.
Oh, there's the other one. I'm trying to remember who it is.
I'm just gonna tell you.
Oh, Locked On is just the Angels Bros, Super Halo Bros.
Yeah, it's just those guys.
Oh. Why did I think it was the one guy that was?
Oh, Beyond. They're okay. What's funny? I get what he says more. Like when he actually like says stuff and he doesn't just fly off the freaking handle.
Anyways, I'm pretty aware of who the other guys are. I've seen their tweets before. Okay. I just don't remember.
I'm just gonna read you something that they posted, and I want to tell you. And I want the wording on this is just spot on. Of like whoever wrote this or whoever their statistician isn't and said like, yeah, this makes sense word wise. Okay, ready for the wording on this? Here we go. In this segment of Did You Know, the Angels offense has combined for a 109 OPS plus. That's fifth best in the league. As a team, the Angels have 3 offensive players with enough at bats to qualify. And one of them is Taylor Ward, who's out for the season. Let that sink in. I'm like, that is the stupidest stat I have ever heard, and I don't know why you even posted that.
Sure.
And and it's one of those bits like I know who I know they're aware of me, and I'm just biting my tongue, being like, and not saying how stupid that stat is in every facet of this is stupid.
Yeah, no, I do disagree slightly. The team that set out at the beginning of the year for the Angels was probably enough to make the playoffs.
Well, what's enough?
The difficulties they've had with injuries have pushed them out of the playoff.
But it's one of those things where it's like, what's enough?
91 wins. I think this is a 91. I think this is a 91 win team without as many of the injuries or as many of the big injuries as they've had to some of their key pieces.
Their Pacoda only had him at I think 87 to start the year.
Yeah, well, I still say about 90, 91.
I wrote about it. It was like the first thing I ever wrote, but I think it was like 91 or not 91, 87. I think.
There you go.
I don't think I'm wrong.
But anyways, the Angels are gonna not make the playoffs this year and probably lose Shohei. That's kind of what we discussed last week. But I do think that there is a better chance than we probably are all giving him credit for that Shohei does return to the Angels. I think Shohei's never said enough for me to say he's definitely wanting to go and be a Dodger or whatever, or a Mariner or whoever. I think there's enough.
Son of a gun.
That he said about still liking the Angels that could sway him back. But anywho,
it was 87.
Still looking for your.
I literally 87. Saw it and I closed it, but I'm pretty sure it was like 87.
I remember discussing that. And look, 87 is probably more realistic, but I think now that I've seen this team, 91 is. I think 93 would have been my absolute ceiling. Like, they are definitely not getting that if I had seen the team like how it is this year. But I think 91, they could have. Just hit that.
I think it was 87.
But maybe I'm too optimistic about the team that was there at the beginning of the year. But I just think, because right as he went down, if you still have Mike Trout, who'd probably be heating up right now, then you had Taylor Ward, who'd be probably still sitting pretty hot right now. Drury had never gone down; he would have been pretty hot. You would have definitely. We'd be probably closer to 5 or 6 over 500 right now, rather than being below. The other issue, though, I guess, is the bullpen, because the bullpen.
Yeah. So if you're curious as to like where they sit now, they're projected to have 82 wins, which is, again, I think probably where they're at. The only thing I personally like, I do push back against is I think people are very high in Seattle when Seattle is not as good as people think they are. And the numbers sort of tend to back that up, but
yeah,
it's more of like, well, what are you going to do? But yeah, they're projected to be 82 wins, which isn't enough to get in as the third wild card, because as it stands, it'd be Tampa Bay, Toronto, and they say Texas, but one of the, like, Houston or
Texas.
Yeah. Houston or Texas would take that spot.
And they're both going to be, any of those wild card teams are going to be hard to catch up to. Toronto's your only chance, and they would need to cool off a little bit. So
yeah, and that's just the biggest thing you're running into is like the
Angels would have to be almost perfect from here on out to make the playoffs. But it wouldn't be unprecedented to see a team built like this get really hot right at the end of the year and make the playoffs. I mean, think about the Moneyball A's.
They went on.
That was what happened back.
But the difference with that is like that if that's the level it has to take, that level's percentile of that happening, like.
No, I agree. I'm not saying this is going to happen. It would just be kind of funny if it did.
It won't.
I'd be happy. I'd also, but
like the likelihood of that happening is just so slim. Like,
I know. I agree. I don't disagree with you.
It's like but the whole thing is when, and this is, and I do this. I think we don't necessarily perpetuate it, but the problem is like when it's such a difficult thing to just sort of say how it is, and I'm to like a lesser degree where it's like it's almost like there's a lot of like team propaganda essentially, and I think when it comes down to like being realistic and just not like shutting it all down, when there's that weird like thing of like certain groups are just like, you don't have to be like fully named, like the world's caving in or something or anything like that. But when it's like, when there's reports and stuff, like I think Sam Blum's article this week was like, oh, Phil Nevin doesn't really like deserve a lot of like all the blame or enough of the blame. And mind you, I fired him twice in 2 weeks. So I'm like, this can't continue. Like it just can't. like it flat out can't. And like in his, he's like, there were like, apparently he had meetings with the staff and they were shouting, and I'm like, with whom? Like, who is he yelling at? He like it's one of those things where it's the frustration like fans have, and I think people who like, not so much like media, like people in the media or like people like create content creation, like have that issue or have that like, I don't even know what it is, but have that like thing of like so that's going on, but we know nothing about it. Like, okay, that's all great now, but there's still not there when there's nothing that's changed. And at this point, there's no reason for them to change it. So you're going to be stuck with you're stuck with essentially a lame deck staff, because it's like all of them know they're probably not going to be back.
Here's the real problem, and the reason I don't know how long it'll take the Angels to make it back to the playoffs is Artie Moreno just needs to sell the team, because
they just need stability.
Look, don't get me wrong, I don't disagree. I definitely think that Phil Nevin needs to be gone, but I don't think much is going to change until the organization itself gets to change. Unless Artie Moreno changes the way he approaches things and says, look, I'm going to let you run this the exact way you want to run this, and goes to Perry and just says, I trust you. You can do whatever you need. Here's a blank check. Sign the players you think that are going to be best for us. Go out and, get the best free agents available. And
did he not do that? Did he not do that at the trade deadline? That was at least the impression.
Oh, you didn't let me quite finish. But yeah, like he did give him the opportunity, and I think that Perry made the right moves at the deadline.
They were the right moves. They were slight early, but that's
the problem. The problem more now with those moves just tended to be
timing.
Yeah, well, timing and then there's just some bad managerial decisions from that.
There are a
regard.
lot.
That led to some, like, Estevez should have been pulled out earlier on that game against the Mariners where they gave it the grand slam, and there's so much that plays into it. But that was also what I was gonna say. I'm not just talking about player signings and free agent signings. He was definitely not allowed to sign his guy to the manager staff.
Well, he
hasn't been allowed to replace a lot of the top to bottom, like scouting and all those kinds of stuff. Like he was given a team when he first got in, and that team is who he's had to go with ever since he's gone, other than just replacing certain guys like Madden with Nevin and things in that regard. If he was given that, I think if he's given that opportunity to build to just say, okay, look, we're going to go through, we're going to take, the training staff, we're going to go through the scouting department, we're going to go through this and that. I'm not saying necessarily fire everybody and then rehire from the ground up necessarily, but get rid of the guys you don't like, put new leaders in that that you can trust, and then, maybe make the organization culture different. The problem is, I don't think Artie's going to allow that to happen. And the problem is that's just not going to happen until Artie sells the team. And then a new owner comes in and says, I have my guy, I have people that I trust, and then the whole culture would change.
I'm just going to leave it on this, and it's simple. I think Nevin's problem is, I think Nevin gets a game plan from somebody, and if that something happens to break that plan, he doesn't know what to do. His body language is totally different when things kind of go awry. He doesn't really have that slight adjustment thing. He's never had it. But in terms of Artie selling, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think the biggest...
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know when they're going to be back to the World Series or playoffs even.
The biggest change Artie could do if he wants to change culture is get rid of John Carpino. Fire John Carpino, replace John Carpino. That is the biggest thing you can do, is get rid of him. Make the statement that Carpino's gone. It's a new era, at least in the executive in the executive offices, and we're going to turn it around. Because Carpino sucks, but in terms of your player leadership, as long as you keep Moustakas and keep the core you have, it'll eventually turn around. But the biggest thing has to be, they have to change something on the executive side. And like I said, the biggest, if Artie's not going anywhere and Perry's presumably isn't going anywhere either, Carpino's the one who should be let go, because a lot of the stuff we blame Artie for, probably Carpino is probably more negligent, if not the actual issue in a lot of these situations, than Artie.
Sure. Well, I honestly think in order to change team culture, if Artie was going to stay, if Artie's going to stay around, what Artie needs to do is get rid of all those people. You remember that one article that we looked, or that one breakdown we looked at with the with like all his marketing people that are in like the top positions of the Angels organization.
Yeah,
I don't remember what it was.
That's one. That's
if
like
he went
Tim's
through and said,
thing.
instead, we're going to take all these people out and we're going to replace them with people who actually know baseball instead of just
marketing.
How to market the team.
And they don't know how to market the team, but that's neither here nor there.
And they don't. No, that's what I'm saying. But like that's why they were hired, was because they're supposed to know how to market the team.
Yeah.
Then it's like, the problem is these are people who know how to market other things. They don't know how to market sports.
I think one was a marketer from Arco, and I'm like, that's a gas station.
What? That's a gas station?
No, I was just like, that was just my thought. I'm like, you marketed a gas station? Like, no, at a corporate level? Oh, okay.